victory. And starting to play some great basketball as of late in some key areas. Now trying to string together 40 good minutes. For the Utes, as we talked about, they've dropped 3 of their last 4, but they have been solid in some areas, such as rebounding. They've dominated in that department in 3 of their last 4 games. First possession here to the Bearcats. Team with 8 newcomers and 6 freshmen this year. That includes DeVillesi. DeVillesi misses. The offensive rebound is going to be collected by Thomas. And now another opportunity for the Bearcats. This one empty, and it's collected by Reese Ross. The starting lineup here for Utah, Coach. And the Utes, as you mentioned, a player like Reese Ross could really give them a spark. Utah punches first with Lonnie White.
Well, you know, that's a nice start both ways. Down here on the defensive end, actually, Utah handled their set piece right away. Took away that deep pass they wanted in the post, and then came down and hit the first 3. So that's a good start for the Utes.
Starting 5 for Cincinnati, featuring Reagan Jackson, who led the team in 3-point makes each of the last 2 seasons. 3-pointer to answer is up and no good from Maya Perry. And the rebound collected by L.A. Sneed. Returned back to the starting lineup recently, goes into Kyra Evans, sneaks along the baseline. And the first turnover of the game goes against Utah. Time now for Elaine's Essentials. Coach, what do you have on the whiteboard?
Well, you know, I don't usually mention shooting, but shooting the ball is really a key. It's been a struggle of late, and they just rely so heavily on the 3-pointer. And as far as Cincinnati, you know, they are an amazing rebounding team. And that can create more possessions for themselves and more scoring immediately. If it leads directly to scoring opportunities tonight, that's going to be a benefit to them.
Back-to-back games, they've had 20 offensive rebounds. DeVillesi, the jumper is smooth, and it's 3-2.
I really like Cincinnati as far as their jump shooting ability. I haven't seen a team better than them across the board in the Big 12 yet, and of course, they start right off there with getting a nice little moving right jump shot.
Ross into the paint, lost it. It goes out of bounds. Possession to Cincinnati. Take a look at the coaches in this matchup tonight. Katrina Merriweather, 3rd season as head coach, led the Cats to their first winning season in 5 years, constantly as young coaches getting spotlighted and putting together the best freshman class in program history. Gavin Peterson needs 4 more wins to reach 20 for the 5th consecutive times. Those 4 previous 20-plus win seasons resulted in a trip to the NCAA tournament. There's Maya Perry looking inside to Destiny Thomas. Thomas against Kyra Evans with the 2nd move, and a foul against Evans. You mentioned the rebounding, a key part of this game tonight. Utah did a nice job keeping their last 2 opponents off the offensive glass. Only 4 offensive rebounds in each of their last 2 games, but Gavin Peterson said it's not necessarily the number of O-boards they've given up. He feels like they've given up some killer, timely offensive rebounds.
Well, that really is a key for them, and they got that nice one-on-one post move inside, and that's going to be something that Utah's going to see a lot. They'll go 4 players deep in the 5 spot, and they stay fresh. And they've got some of those posts playing maybe 13 minutes and still averaging almost 5.5 rebounds each.
DeVillesi, the #1 player out of the state of Maryland. Misses on this jump shot. Kyra Evans comes down with the rebound.
It's going to be interesting to see if they call many rebounding fouls in this game. I've already seen one that's a foul, and they let it go. You know, Utah ends up with the board, and when you've got an advantage and it's going to be called loosely, that helps Cincinnati.
Maya Perry fires from deep. She hit 5 triples in that last game. On their way to a victory over Arizona. L.A. Sneed earns a trip to the free throw line. The 3-point shooting is going to be a big part of this game, Coach. For the Utes, 40% from deep in their wins, 24.7% during losses. For Cincinnati, the last 6 games, all 33% or less, 28.4% overall in that time.
Well, and we see right now that L.A. Sneed got the start tonight, and we looked at her numbers earlier. The number differential for her as a starter and coming off the bench is pretty dramatic, so I think it's a really good move for Utah. I think that L.A. Sneed just gives them something they need on the floor, and the early start is so important. And you see she gets that end-to-end penetration and puts pressure on the rim early, and there's a lot of options when you can do that.
5-star recruit from San Antonio. A split trip. And Utah's up 4-2. Joya Crawford. Had some key moments defensively and out in the open court in that recent victory. Now a loose ball, near takeaway for the Utes. There's Kylie Torrance on the drive, no good. The O-board, the putback by Alliance Ndiba. A great story of perseverance and growth after 3 years at Arizona Western and joined the Bobcats last year. Sneed runs along the baseline. Now gets it back from Reese Ross. Sneed a drive, gives off to Kyra Evans. Evans, no good on that shot. Joya Crawford, the loose ball. 4-4 game early on. The Villasy, that baseline J, a little too long. The ball knocked out of bounds off of Kylie Torrance.
Well, you can see the success that Cincinnati has on the glass by number one, sending the athletes to the paint and the rim. And also the other thing is just simply, again, how much are they going to get to be able to do over the top? How much of that keeping it alive from an outside position is going to be allowed tonight?
One thing Coach Merriweather talked about with defensive rebounding is they have to be very aware of where the shot is coming off the rim. Because if you're out of position, she said that can lead to an easy, quality look from the outside. Maddie Wilkie, catch and shoot three. Brooke Walker comes down with the O-board, and she's fouled. This one against Crawford.
Well, that's exactly what Utah has to do tonight. We have to see Utah players flying around. Guards have to help the rebounding game. Both ends, they've got to keep it alive on the defensive end when there is a Cincinnati player over the top of one of the bigs, and they have to give themselves more possessions, just like Brooke Walker did.
Reese Ross inside, Evelina Otto. Too strong. And Ndiba comes down with the rebound. There's Reagan Jackson. Back for Kylie Torrance. The Cincinnati Bearcat program. While they have struggled in the win and loss department, this is a group that has stayed very connected. Coach Merriweather's talked a lot about that, how they feel like there's so much growth underneath the surface, things that people would not be able to see. And they're starting to build some great roots, especially with young players. Otto gives this one back to Wilkie. Wilkie too high off the glass. It's 4-4 game with just over 4 minutes left in the first. A good look from Maya Perry. On line but long. Rebound Jackson. That's on line but long. Brooke Walker the rebound.
Again, a good job by a guard rebounding down to help the bigs in their effort to keep Cincinnati off the glass.
White connects to end what was an 0-for-6 drought for Utah. Cincinnati's one of their last 8.
It's going to be interesting watching the shots that Cincinnati does or doesn't get, because their jump shooting, and I believe we've seen 3 nice jump shots, all 3 off the dribble right. And that is a preferred direction of the team as I watch them play and kind of assess what's coming into this game. And I'm curious to see if Utah's able to make them work more to the left side, or if they get consistently to the right to make plays.
Perry to that baseline, turns and fades and hits. It was a 2-for-13 start from the field. Perry makes it a 7-6 ball game. Maya Perry 9 times she has scored 20 or more this year. Walker to work around the auto screen. He's fouled on the shot. It's against Ndiba, and will step aside. 7-6 early on here in Salt Lake. Incredible tributes from former coaches, players, to watch them get emotional while they talk about you. That was truly special yesterday, and then this morning, and all throughout today as well. And I enjoyed watching the big smile on your face and how emotional you've been throughout the course
It's
of
real.
this.
It was real. Last night was something I've never experienced before in my life, and it felt so good, because you know what it was just everybody coming home, and that's what we all did, was experience being home again. It was awesome.
And the banners hang up there for conference championships, all the wonderful accomplishments from your teams. But what they mention most is the way you impacted their. Those stories just will never stop being told. Those would go all throughout the night. Cardin misses, get best offensive rebounding team in the Big 12. Continues to flex deep in the paint.
Well, that is going to be the thing for Cincinnati, and Utah's going to have to find an answer to that more often than not.
Avery Jonestead off left, and the rebound grabbed by Reagan Jackson. 6 offensive rebounds already for the Bearcats. They dominated the boards 49-29 on Tuesday. DeVillasi with a strong move. 5 games with 20 or more, most by a Cincinnati freshman since 2003.
Well, I'm going to say this again, and probably throughout the night, if it's not, if it keeps happening. As good as their kids are, you know, they can finish left and all that. DeVillasi right there showed you why you can't let her work right. She can jump shoot, she can lean away from you, lean her away and hit it up, and she can't do all those things as well moving left, and she's not the only one, so it's going to be interesting to see if their quickness is just too much for Utah to handle.
Active hands defensively everywhere for Utah. This leads to a jump ball, and Utah will get it back.
There you have that right drive by DeVillasi, and she just can get away from you. She can get the basketball away. You know, Otto comes back with a really nice drive. Utah needs more catches in that range. They need more catches 15 feet so that their drives are, you know, more explosive. They're quicker. They get to the rim without the chance for team defense to impact it as much. So nice help right there as far as her support.
Otto off the fingertips and out of bounds. Back to DeVillasi, this freshman that looks nothing like a newcomer when you watch her play. And Coach Merriweather had so many positive things to say about her passing ability. Said it's one thing to make the right pass, but it's always on target. Something she's hoping the rest of the team can collectively become consistent with.
Well, she's first in assists and is averaging 15.5 points as a freshman. You hope that that's the player that not only chose you in the first place, but stays the rest of the time.
There she goes again. Just wasn't able to finish on that. A jump ball. This time it goes to Cincinnati. Let's go to Sammy Miller.
Well, Tony, Coach Merriweather said that she hasn't seen a point guard deliver the ball at this level and at her age in a very long time, all while having the ability to take over the game offensively as a 3-level scorer that plays fearless. She cannot say enough about Kalia.
No, you're absolutely right. And Sammy, to your point, this is the most assists by a Bearcat, a freshman, any class since 2022. Jump shot is good, and a foul takes place away from the ball. The basket will count. This foul is against the Bearcats. And the foul goes against Dee Alexander. And welcome back, Dee Alexander, a player who's had to battle so many injuries. She was the preseason Big 12 Freshman of the Year. High expectations for the young players on the Cincinnati team.
Well, that's an opportunity that Utah has got to finish. They rely so heavily on their three-point shooting, and when they get no support in other areas of the game, those are the places, and that miss right there by Otto are the things that can really help them overcome anything but one of those, you know, the worst nights.
The first quarter comes to a close.
Right now at the top, not 2 through 5, at the top.
The other thing you see in this league is teams maybe towards the bottom like Cincinnati, as you've mentioned before, playing much better than what their record would represent. Right, tonight, the battle against Utah, the Utes badly in need of a good number of wins to finish out the regular season. Foster, nice finish. Utah back in the lead.
Well, that's a great finish by Grace Foster. She flat out got hit as well and just took it and made sure that she finished. That's the one thing that can happen well for players who are good going right. They can finish through contact. They can lean out. Yeah.
Torrance puts Cincinnati back in the driver's seat. Lonnie White in rhythm 3. A little bit long. Utah, so far 2 of 6 from deep. Cincinnati 0 of 4. DeVillesi created a lot of nice opportunities in that first quarter. Didn't convert as much as she wanted to. She had all those moves on display. Ramaya Bird coming off of that first start. She was exceptional. Offensive foul against Torrance.
Well, I've got to just quit being a coach, right, Tony? I do not coach anymore. This is a nice call for Utah. It's an offensive foul, but the problem with that is Torrance gets started right, and she gets started right with speed and quickness. And I still believe that that will be something that they hopefully can do a better job of corralling a little bit.
White, baseline drive. Wilkie, baseline drift. Maddie Wilkie puts Utah up 16-14. That last huddle with Coach Gavin Peterson. Curious to hear what he had to say. Sammy Miller has more on that.
Tony, Coach Peterson went into that huddle and said, you cannot have the mentality of, oh, I hope I don't miss. No, instead, you have to be fearless, and you have to have the belief that that ball is going to go in the bucket. We saw right there, Maddie Wilkie is a perfect example of having that gritty mentality that all of these Utes players need to have right now.
That was a great defensive play. That is Kyra Evans' understanding. That is her understanding that Thomas wants to come back to her left shoulder as possible. The way the posts have got to defend in these situations is they have to know that they have to actually stop the left pivot to the left hand and just level them if they go the other way and make them shoot over you through you.
Maddie Wilkie guarded by DeVillesi. Back to Sneed. Ross sets up the screen. It's dead straight away to Evans. Handing off. Wilkie another 3. This one short. And the O-board to White. Loose ball collected by Evans. They'll reset. Sneed to work. Here comes White. Back to Evans. It's knocked away to DeVillesi. She races the other way. DeVillesi against White. A collision and a blocking foul.
Well, the play I loved from DeVillesi is her backside defensive help in that situation. I didn't see anybody there. It looked like Evans had a layup coming in, and DeVillesi just comes flying off that backside to do her job, which is to make sure that she rotates over when 2 get stuck on 1 defensively, and this is a great defensive play.
Here's Kalia DeVillesi, 77.2% free throw shooter. Sammy talked about the leadership of Maya Perry, making sure these freshmen know when they step on the court they are not freshmen. And DeVillesi's taken that to heart, but also a vibrant personality. Creates a lot of laughs, keeps it loose, keeps it light, and she's fun to watch.
I love their freshman class, and she leads that.
The highest ranked freshman class in program history. DeVillesi, as we mentioned before, the #1 recruit from the Old Line State. Dee Alexander, we saw some time earlier tonight, the #1 recruit out of the state of Ohio. Sneed running the baseline, circles out. They'll start over with Lonnie White. 8 on the shot clock. White had it poked away, got it back. Fires for 3, off the mark, rebound. It was grabbed by Ramaya Bird. She had 15 rebounds against Arizona to go with her 14 points.
Right,
now
she got
Bird
her
on the
first
other
start.
end.
Got her first start and said, well, coach, what about the next one?
She said she took that personally. She felt a huge responsibility. Reese Ross always feels a big responsibility. She's put her team up 3.
Well, there's another way that Utah has got to try to add to their offensive arsenal so that they are not so dependent strictly on whether the shot's going down. So they've got to get the transition opportunities, which they just do. They need to get some of the offensive rebounds where they can get the putbacks and also get something done defensively.
Nice cut, Maya Perry, the all-conference baller in the American Conference with FAU last year. It's a 1-point game again. Reese Ross from the outside. That's no good. DeVillesi the rebound. If you like watching 2 players who play fast and physical you will love watching Ramaya Bird and Reese Ross tonight. They are a blur out there. Here's Wilkie in transition, a little bit long. Reese Ross, the oboe. Back outside to White. Sneed, a deep catch. Evans, nice seal.
It's a great job. And you know, that whole possession starts because L.A. Sneed pushes it so well, gives an opportunity for that transition three, a part of the game that you can get open threes look. So Maddie gets that look, doesn't get it, but then they're tough on the boards. They end up with a mismatch inside in transition, and Evans is able to score at the rim.
Utah with some great looks from the outside so far tonight. Sammy had a great report on the comments by Gavin Peterson, as the Villasy was a little bit long on that J. She's 2 for 9 to start this game. Wilkie goes through the paint. White will find Evans. Now on to Ross. The ball bouncing around everywhere, and it ends up in the hands of L.A. Sneed, who misses a three. What a great O-board by Reese Ross. But while Utah has struggled shooting from the outside, back to the report from Sammy Miller, how hard is it as a team not to let the recent shooting drought get into their head, as L.A. Sneed dropping dimes everywhere. This one to Evans. It's 22-17.
I think that Sneed can make a difference on the floor, and I think her production and really just the style of her game that is so needed within the complex of the rest of the players and their talents. Starting her, I think, is a great decision by Gavin Peterson.
Utah by 5 at the under 5.
Do as much as they, you know, like then you get older and you get into those situations, and yeah, it hits you an honest way.
So many of your players all said, nobody pushed me harder, nobody, you know, was so directly honest with me. As Maddie Wilkie's long on the three, and the rebound comes down to Joya Crawford. Cincinnati in a bit of a scoring drought here, and a turnover on the Bearcats, but they all said one thing that was so important. You knew the emotional trust was in a great spot. You knew she had your back, and you knew she wanted the best for you all the time.
Well, that's nice. You always hope so. You also kind of get hung up working so hard in a competitive situation, and it's not always easy to remember that they're kids, and that you simply make sure that that's the first thing that you are thinking and not the second thing that you're thinking.
Well, many of them have talked about the professions they're currently in, some of them in education, some of them in coaching, and many times they made references to what they learned as a player and what they learned by your example, and implemented that not just as a part of what they do, but as the main foundation to what they do.
Well, it means so much to me that that they feel the way they do, and they feel it enough to be willing to say those things to you, share those things, like be very personal in the time that you have to share the moment with them is more than I could ever have hoped for.
I love it because they talk about it as a reflection of their life and what built their lives going forward. And then as I talk to you about it, you make it sound like, well, that's their opinion. And it's like, come on, coach. Brooke Walker out to Evans. Nice pass. Reese Ross put it on the rim and missed. Trying to get that O-board, but it's grabbed by Cincinnati Alexander. And now a deflection. Wilkie turns around, and it ends up in the hands of L.A. Sneed. Crosses, baseline. The cross-court pass knocked out of bounds. Nice hands, Reagan Jackson.
That's two teams working hard. It's great to watch that, you know, as a fan, just to see kids making plays and giving themselves second chances and third chances and not getting hung up with mistakes or misses. One of the things when you go up against a very athletic team like Cincinnati and you get the ball around the rim, as an offensive player, you have to be a little more creative in terms of you can't just catch, shoot, catch, shoot, catch, shoot. The rhythm of what you do inside with shot fakes, a little bit of a lift here, is really going to be important to turn block shots into fouls.
Utah up by 4, 3 minutes left in this second quarter. Wilkie spinning into traffic, loose ball, and it's grabbed by Ndiba. Perry going up against Reese Ross, looking inside. to Ndiba. Ndiba to work against Evans. Foul. And she'll go to the free throw line. Alliance Ndiba, mentioned she's an amazing story. Comes from the Congo, speaks 4 languages. Is a person that comes from a big family and is so full of gratitude. Coach Merriweather couldn't say enough about what her example really is through all of her experiences as a student athlete, from her childhood, all of that and more. She said, see that around your program, and it has a very positive effect on all of us, not just the rest of the players.
Right, without a doubt, that sounds really like an amazing story. And you know, her minutes played is 13.5 minutes, and she is the second rebounder on the team, playing less than 15 minutes a game. That shows you what kind of contribution they get from all of their bigs.
It's a high IQ team, that being Cincinnati, not just with what they do on the basketball court, but also a program record 3.729 GPA back in the spring. A lot of pride there with Coach Merriweather and company on what they're building. Right now they're down by 3 against the Utes. A lot of ball movement in the half-court set by the Utes time after time. Ross, a post up, turns and scores over Kylie Torrance. Reese Ross, 5 double-doubles, including her last home game. 9 double-digit rebound games as well.
This is a big girl game. You're gonna need to score through some contact tonight.
Foul against Maya Perry. And for the Utes, up to this point, 9 field goals, all of them assisted. 8 different players have scored.
That's really a nice finish for Reese Ross. You know, she's physically very agile and mobile, but she's not massive. And she just takes the hit inside.
Maddie Wilkie hit 4 3-pointers against the Bearcats last year. And now Wilkie has hit her second triple tonight. Lonnie White tees it up, knocks it down, and Utah has hit a hot stretch here on offense as of late. They built their lead out to 11. How difficult is it to make sure it doesn't get into the head of your team when they've had a stretch of games like that?
You're right. That is the challenge for a coaching staff, is to turn something that is on its face always going to be a mental problem and get them convinced that that is never the one thing that makes us win. And we are better than that. There are other things we can do, and concentrate on those while still working hard at what it is you want to do well every night, which is shoot the basketball.
Utah, another stop. Now they're looking for another score. It's going inside to Evans and out of bounds. Cincinnati without a field goal now for nearly 6 minutes.
Well, Cincinnati's gonna, probably dig it in here, and they're gonna go to the glass if they don't get the make. And I think for Utah, it's hard to follow up that run and then get yourself a turnover, not even get an opportunity when you're really kind of on a hot streak.
A young team in Cincinnati trying to have a positive moment here at the end of this second quarter, which has been tough over the last 5 minutes. Here's Whitted. Her first shot attempt is good. Whitted comes off the bench. A much-needed bucket for Cincinnati.
Well, and she's only 1 for 8 from the three-point range. This tends to happen. Utah shows a little bit of zone, and actually it gets into the hands of the one kid you wouldn't mind getting a three-point shot, even if they're open, and she puts it in.
First three-point make of the game for Cincinnati. L.A. Snead out of the corner. No. And the second quarter will come to a close. The Utah Utes with a nice stretch of...
On Utah's part, and I think we know with Cincinnati that, the rebounding game and the second chance game, and that is just going to be the key. And if they can kind of get the same urgency that they had early in the game, they've got an eight-point difference here, and we'll see what happens.
First shot attempt of the third quarter is no good from Destiny Thomas. Utah struggled keeping Cincinnati off the offensive glass in the first quarter, much better in the second. Kyra Evans, another bucket for her, and Evans now has 6.
It's good to see the big run, rim to rim. You know, run Main Street and be the first one down. And in terms of her matchup with Thomas, that is one of the advantages that Evans has. She is a little quicker, and she can get down there and put that kind of pressure at the rim that will help Utah find, or at least have an attempt at, again, some auxiliary scoring options, places that they need to be able to augment what happens to them in the half court.
If you're Cincinnati offensively, what would you want to see for Coach Merriweather right away in this early part of the third quarter?
Well, I think they really weren't very open in the first half. I think Utah did a really good job. So in terms, she may have some sets. I've seen that in some of the game film that I've watched. She's got some nice things that she goes to. We might see a little bit more direction from her in that regard and try to get some specific shots, but I still think that the key for them is second and third opportunities. They're one of the weaknesses in terms of just an initial strength or weakness is, in fact, they're not first and foremost a great shooting team.
Utah's biggest lead now is at 12. It's a 12-3 Utah run on the bucket from Snead. Evans the assist. A jumper up and good from Jackson, coming off her conference high 19-point performance.
That is the answer to your question as far as Cincinnati is concerned in their offensive attack. If that's what they want, is to be able to dribble to 15, moving right, and be open for a jump shot. And she was very open. Utah off on-ball screens has got to provide higher protect position if there's a screen-off situation. And you know, you have to even think about switching the initial one so she's not open coming off that on-ball screen. And in fact, they have to kick it out, try to find a second and third option, because really Cincinnati is so good at that part of the game.
Reagan Jackson out to DeVillesi. She goes to Destiny Thomas, guarded by Evans. Here is Maya Perry. Perry with 4 points here so far, trying to get going in the second half. Short on this turnaround. Snead the board. Here come the Utes. White chopped and fouled by Ramaya Bird.
Well, what I love to see, that defensive possession, Wilkie just sat on Perry's right hand. And Perry was forced to start to work left. You know, she can finish to the rim that direction. I mean, she certainly is a well-rounded, very fine player. But it's a little harder for her to get all of the options she wants if she's forced to work that direction, and Utah ends up with the ball.
In the first quarter, Cincinnati led points in the paint 10-2. Since then, it's Utah with a 14-2 advantage in that department. Take away from the Cincinnati defense. DeVillesi, the pull-up. And DeVillesi, 2 for 10 so far tonight.
That is a great shot for DeVillesi. I don't want to think that if I was going against her that I gave her too many of those looks.
She's had some nice looks here, Coach, and has created some opportunities. Just hasn't been able to finish. Cincinnati shooting 29% from the field.
You're right. I'm not going to give credit 100% to the fact that she's not feeling, you know, that she isn't feeling comfortable, because she's gotten some nice looks, and she's also been moving right. And, you know, maybe the Utes have gotten a little lucky so far. They're going to have to tighten that up a bit.
Here is Lonnie White, who's made the return to Utah really count. 19 or more points in her last 4 games. Shoots well from everywhere, including the free throw line. 84% on the year. White is so versatile. Not just in her game, but everything. She's a gamer. She also does so many other things, speaks multiple languages. More on Lonnie, here's Sammy Miller.
Common phrase that Lonnie says is that she plays for what is across her chest, never for what is behind her. She puts the team before herself, doing everything in her power to impact the game at a high level, as she absolutely loves representing this program. Lonnie emphasized that her confidence comes from her teammates and the coaching staff believing in her, and also the trust in the work that she puts in on a daily basis, and it has been showcased all season long.
Yeah, and it was a huge part of her childhood too, Sammy, with her time that she spent in Japan. For some of the years there, I mean, she is just so unselfish. Nice find, Ross. Nice finish, Wilkie. And Utah is back up by 11. Perry is fouled on the jump shot. And Maya Perry was 2 of 8 from the field, 0 of 4 from deep. Utah obviously a big emphasis with her defensively. Here's what they're doing on offense. 14 field goals for Utah, 14 assists.
A really nice curl cut by Maddie Wilkie and a good find by Reese Ross. You know, one of the good things about their offense is they stretch defensive because of their ability to shoot the 3. It's difficult to be good at the point of attack and also handle cutters. I think that Perry's one of the keys for them, obviously. And the mistake on that defensively for Utah was they forced Perry into a very tough jump shot, and then they foul her. And you want to stay away from making things easy for a player like Perry.
Lonnie White around the auto screen. Goes back to Sneed. Now a baseline drive by Ross. It goes to Lonnie White. She launches from the outside and hits. Lonnie White with 13. Utah up by 13. Utah's largest lead of the night. Feels like every time Cincinnati punches, Utah is able to hit back even harder. Shot from Perry draws nothing, and Utah will get the ball back.
This whole possession was really pretty to watch because there was good early ball movement. They swing it to the wing. Reese takes the baseline drive, passes to the drop, and then, the rotation's just tough to make defensively, and they end up giving a nice look to Lonnie White.
Utah 4 for 4 from the field in this third quarter. Maddie Wilkie, a little bit long. And the rebound to Ndiba. Wilkie nearly had another steal. She's been everywhere on the defensive end.
She does everything for them. You can't doubt her heart and her effort. She went through a difficult hit physically early on in the season, and I don't think she still will recover completely from that. It has impacted her shooting, and she doesn't stop. She doesn't stop playing defense. She doesn't stop rebounding. She doesn't stop leading the team.
Now Wilkie all over Perry. Perry trying to go to Jackson. Has to try and create as she breaks the paint. Goes back outside to Crawford. Crawford with the clock under 5. Let's see what she's got. Going against Sneed. The step back 3. Off right. Draws nothing but glass. The Utes with another stop. Now they're going to try to build their lead even bigger. A bump and a foul. So go. He couldn't say enough great things about Willie. Pointed out the importance for him as a father figure, and for many others. He said while people know him for the player and coach role, it was the fundamentals installed by Coach Merriweather, fundamentals for the game and for life. And he said, once you have great fundamentals, then you get to be creative. And he also had kind words to say about Coach Merriweather here, the Cincinnati Bearcats. What a wonderful legacy that Willie has left. I know he's watching the game today. Coach said he watches all the games that are here on ESPN Plus.
That's a great story. I think it's really awesome that you brought that to us, Tony.
Lonnie White for 3 answers the bucket from Cincinnati. White now with 16. That is her 5th long ball of the night. And also, while we have a second, on Valentine's Day, George Gervin and his wonderful wife about to celebrate their 50th anniversary here soon. So congratulations to them. The Iceman, what a great career, what a great guy. Had a great conversation with him today. Maya Perry in some traffic. Beating the buzzer and off the mark. Jackson, Utah's defense has been swarming since the end of that first quarter.
Well, Utah has made an adjustment in the second half, and you can see that what Cincinnati isn't getting easily anymore is able to work right and get open jump shots moving right. Even with Perry here, we've seen them really make her work left, and instead of taking that little jumper left, which evidently I've seen her make them. I don't think it's just not the best part of her game. And you see when you can take something away, you can take the best thing away from a player at least a decent percentage of the time. it's going to make a really big difference.
Walker with a nice move at the rim, and Utah is up 16, their biggest lead.
Well, that is a great in the air shot fake right there. Nice pump.
Crawford stops too far. Rebound White. Everything is looking hard offensively for Cincinnati. Everything's looking easy for Utah here in the third. They're up 18, and Walker with back-to-back buckets. Timeout, Bearcats. Utah's hit 10 of their last 12. Well, the Utah Utes with Brooke Walker.
Legursky, and I had that gem for 12 years, and I wish he never would have left me.
Well, he echoed the same sentiment when he mentioned his record against you once he left you. The lighthearted sense of humor was phenomenal. Stability with a nice take. And it ends what was a 7-0 run for Utah.
Well, that's not Brooke Walker's fault. That is DeVillisi, who can finish to the rim very well left and needs to have help at the rim. It's that simple. Every team defense, no one player is expected to handle one player one-on-one all the time. And when they get away and it's going to be a finish at the rim, you have to handle it as a team, and that did not happen defensively for Utah.
Utah by 16 here late third quarter. DeVillisi goes to Torrance on the fadeaway. A quick little 4-0 spurt. As Cincinnati, who battled back hard against Kansas when getting down big. So this is not a team that's going to go away quietly. Ross with a catch. Surveys and goes to Walker. Otto, a paint-to-paint pass to Ross. 19 field goals for Utah, all of them assisted.
Well, Cincinnati goes to a zone defense on that possession, and Utah feels comfortable enough, gets a really good executed offensive possession and ends up inside. And then you see Torrance, who's just really good.
Man.
And she's getting the ball, that 6-foot to 15-foot range, and that's the jump shot that she wants.
Torrance, one of 9 freshmen nationally to average 8.7 rebounds and a block per game. Rebound to win it. DeVillisi, that baseline jam. A little bit short. All of her shots either a little long, a little short, but almost all right on line.
One thing about Cincinnati, they have proven to be a better team at home. They have struggled in areas that you wouldn't see them shoot the ball, generally speaking, at home with the struggle that we've seen so far in this game.
They've hit 1 3-pointer today. Maya Perry misfires there. The rebound comes down to Utah. Snead on the push, finds Otto. Otto has that blocked out of bounds, and a foul is called. One official just had it out of bounds to Utah. The other one with the foul. Send Otto to the line. Perry's third personal foul. Talk about the freshmen so much from Cincinnati. How about the freshmen from Utah this year? Continuing to evolve. There's been some real growing moments. Some of them have been eye-opening in terms of flourishing, and then some of them come with some really uphill climbs when you play in this conference.
Well, this conference is really big and really strong inside, and Otto will give you everything she has, but she can't grow any taller. And she just has to learn, how she's going to be more effective in this kind of a league, close in like that.
Nice 2-for-2 trip for Evelina Otto. The lead is back to 16. Cincinnati can play for the final shot here, the third quarter. Foster has other ideas. A steal, a pull-up 3, in and out. And the rebound comes down to Perry. Now up the court in the corner, Whitted for 3. She's the only 3-point make of the game for the Bearcats. So go out of bounds to Utah. They have 8.9 to work with.
Well, Utah has shown some new things defensively. They're picking up a little bit, full court, some trapping, changed to a zone a couple times. And I think that a team that's struggling That's just a really good choice to make as far as, Coach Peterson and his choice. Making the pass to a three-point shooter who, if she misses, there's no assist going on.
Yeah, the ball movement has been great. The player movement has been great. 5 moving and thinking is 1 so many times tonight. DeVillesi earns a trip to the line. Utah has 19 assists tonight, and Cincinnati has 6.
Well, Cincinnati is, better one-on-one team. I mean, in terms of their offensive strength. You saw right there almost perhaps what we're going to see, which is Cincinnati putting their head down, driving right, creating contact, and seeing what they can do to finish in that direction and go to the free throw line. And they're very capable of that. Utah's going to have to really understand that. I can see Coach Peterson talking to Snead about that right now.
More on the game tonight. Let's go to Sammy Miller.
Head coach Katrina Merriweather isn't just building a team in Cincinnati, it's a sisterhood. And for Coach, she truly means it, as she even has her own sister on staff. Coach Katrina hired her younger sister, Cabrina, and said that she wouldn't have brought her in if she thought she wasn't talented, because that could hinder the team's growth and would make for an awkward Thanksgiving. They both emphasized how this has been a dream, being able to coach alongside one another, because they come from a basketball family, so this truly means everything to them. These two, along with their all-female coaching staff, look to continue to strengthen this sisterhood at Cincinnati by making it a place that feels like home from the moment these players step foot on campus.
You're absolutely right about that. Destiny Thomas with the bucket. They even had great things for Valentine's Day today for all the players. And Coach, when she said that today at shoot-around, it reminded me of what you said last night in your speech. Was Lonnie White short on the 3? We talked about now this is a home here at the University of Utah. For players, for alum, for everybody who's been a part of this program. And the 582 is one thing, but it's everything else that's taken place around the program with the influence and the connection.
Well, it was really, really special. I don't even, now, at the moment that it was happening, I had so many clear emotions about it. It was so easy to talk about it. And then the next day, I'm completely at a loss of words for what that experience was. But it just encapsulated the feeling that, okay, over 27 years, all these kids are back, and they have a place to come home to. It's such a special thing about the time that I coached. I coached when it was right for me in terms of what I love about the game and what I love about college athletics. That's a challenge now in this environment in college athletics, and I hate to say that it's very possible that, it's the kind of the end of that day. If you play 4 different places, it's not easy to feel like there's a home that you committed to and teammates that you committed to for 4 straight or 5 straight years. So I'm just happy that was my experience.
Well, Coach Merriweather said something to Sammy I won't forget as Torrance hits the J, and it's now a 10-point game. But Coach Merriweather is Maddie Wilkie short on the 3, and the ball's out of bounds. It'll stay with Utah. Said that it is a business, but it's a family business. Well, that's out of bounds to Cincinnati.
I think Cincinnati knows where their bread is buttered, and they are putting the ball on the floor and putting their head down and driving right and seeing what they can get done.
Perry, no good on the 3. It's a 1 for 8 3-point shooting night for Cincinnati. Perry now with a takeaway. 2-on-2 the other way. Perry got away with a double dribble, or did she? Now it's called a travel.
She's so much less comfortable trying to work in that direction. The thing that I think what's different at Utah here, 3 straight possessions they settled for a very early 3 against the zone, first look. And honestly, that's not what they've been doing to be very successful. They've waited until they're in rhythm. They've waited until they test the defense. And they have found other things as far as opportunities to score than those early 3-point shots that when you're making them, it's great. But when you're missing them, it's really quick giving the ball right back to the opposing team.
L.A. Snead had that deflected by DeVillesi. It's collected by Thomas. Up the court, Jackson. Nice little surge here from Cincinnati. Jackson with a rugged runner along the right side of the lane. She'll earn a trip to the free throw line as Cincinnati is chipping away.
They are. They've just kind of come out with a little bit renewed vigor, I would say, after the quarter timeout. I'm sure Coach Merriweather kind of reminded them of how you win basketball games at this level, and there just is a better effort happening, from Cincinnati Bearcats.
Reagan Jackson, 84% at the line so far this year. Cincinnati, 6 for 10. The Bearcats do not have a player in double figures tonight. They had 5 players in double figures in the win against Arizona. That was the first time in conference play.
They played so well against Arizona. They really did just dominate the game, and they looked really comfortable, really efficient. I thought, and still think, as far as this game goes, it's anybody's game. They really came in here, and I think this is a key game for both teams. I think Cincinnati just wants to prove themselves, and I think Utah has to win this game if they want to keep their resume strong.
A 9-0 Cincinnati run. White along the baseline. In the corner, a 3 from Ross is no good, and the rebound, rather from Wilkie, the rebound is going to come down to the Bearcats, and on the other end, Jackson is fouled. They just kind of stay tough, keep fighting. This is a Katrina Merriweather team with that right mindset. It's one thing when you have a season going like this, you're curious to see what type of confidence, what type of attitude a team possesses. And I think Coach Merriweather should be very proud of the overall toughness from this group.
Well, when you're not shooting the ball well and you're as athletic as Cincinnati, it makes sense that what they're talking about doing now is just, hey, get to the rim.
More on Jackson. Here's Sammy Miller.
Coach Merriweather emphasized that Reagan Jackson embodies everything that it means to be a Bearcat, as she is tough, gritty, competitive, and wants to win, all while doing everything she can to prepare herself to compete. And we are seeing that right now. She's trying to put the team on her back to complete this comeback.
Yeah, you're right. And Sammy, she said to you earlier today that she feels like Reagan Jackson has more money in the bank than anybody. Just full trust in any decision that she makes, to allow to kind of be the CEO during some of the game's most important moments, and she's had a nice stretch here lately.
You do want that. You want that on your team. You want to have the belief. You want to have the player that's just going to turn the tide when you need it turned.
I don't know if blank check is the right way to word it, but how many players do you feel like you had that kind of trust to be like, you know what, you make the call, I'm good with it?
Well, you need to know that in every instance, every team you have, if you don't have that player, you're going to struggle.
Perry, straight away, no good. Rebound, Kyra Evans. Lonnie White with that bucket. That was the first points of this fourth quarter for Utah. They've led by as many as 18. They're up by 10. Sneed to the corner, Walker. Back it out to Lonnie White. White crosses, rises, fires, clangs out. Now fight for the board. And it's grabbed by Torrance. 35-32. And a rebound advantage for Cincinnati. But they're down double digits here in this fourth quarter. And Diba throws back out to Perry. Now gets it back on the reset. Turns, doubled, harassed, fouled, got it, and one. Alliance and Diba with a weight room bucket and a chance to get it to 7.
You know, the defensive play there to be made is by L.A. Sneed on that dribble. Once she's committed to being in that gap and she sees it go in, she can help the post by just taking that thing away on the dribble instead of giving her the room to make the dribble, like, come late, and then you have to handle the move that's up to the rim.
Short on the free throw. And the Bearcats now just 8 of 15 at the stripe tonight. Utah trying to find that rhythm once again that they had on offense. And an offensive foul against the Utes. This will go against Lonnie White. She taps her chest and says, my bad.
You know, you can see that coming, so I've never understood. Like, I'm over here, I'm on the, if you didn't mess it up on the first one, that's good news. Another one came, and she was good too. And you got the third one, so maybe it wasn't so bad.
You're the first people you thanked was the Alcorn family. A near steal. Now it is a steal. Wilkie puts Utah up by 10.
Well, and there you have that change by Utah to say, no, we need to be more aggressive. We need to be take advantage of what the different things we have in our arsenal and keep them from being comfortable just catching and going straight to the rim like that. It's a good job by Torrance.
10 points for Torrance. She leads Cincinnati scorers. It's back down to 8. Utah trying to run through the finish line, not to the finish line here tonight. Slipping the pass inside was Ross to Walker. She's tripped and fouled. 4:46 left to play here. It's a key part of learning how to win at better levels is how you can finish games. Here's that steal and bucket from Wilkie.
Indeed. Just that kind of thing really matters. And they might consider zone as well to just kind of keep the mentality of Cincinnati from, oh, I'm just taking my kid to the rim. It's hard to do that shift down the stretch with a lead because you get afraid of the three-point shot. So you have to keep an eye on that if you feel like first and foremost you want to kind of stop the momentum and the aggressiveness.
Perry nearly took that one away. White collects. Utah resets. Walker, the pull-up. Clangs out. The rebound comes down to Thomas. For Thomas, her 8th rebound of the game. More than anybody else on the floor tonight. Tbilisi and Cincinnati trying to continue to climb back. They've cut an 18-point deficit down to 8. It's Perry out of the corner for 3. And Maya Perry with her first triple of the night. She had 5 in the win on Tuesday. It's a 5-point game.
It's just great execution, and it's a great call by Coach Merriweather. They go to a set. They get the actions that they need. They get the players in the spots, and they end up with the flare screen for Perry, their very best three-point shooter in the corner, and she delivers.
5th in the Big 12 in scoring. It's a 15-4 start in favor of Cincinnati in this 4th quarter. Late in the shot clock. Wilkie lets it fly. Another empty possession for Utah. Another opportunity here for the Bearcats. That 3 from Maya Perry, 66th of the year, and now she's tied for 10th most in a season for the Bearcats. Tbilisi to set up shop. Goes right at Walker, steps in the lane, floats too far, rebound Otto.
That's a good job defensively again to make Crawford go left where she has fewer options in terms of finishing. They get great help, they get it out, they run it, great transition. White finishes the play. That's the kind of play you have to have down the stretch if you're going to keep leads or no matter the situation, if you're going to win games.
Lonnie White's 7th 20-point game.
And Utah has gone to a zone in this possession.
Tbilisi goes to Thomas. Thomas to work on Otto. Turns, fires. She'll go to the line. Destiny Thomas, a 60% free throw shooter. This is her first trip to the line tonight. Take a look at Utah's bucket here. Great hustle by Lonnie White.
Great run out.
Nice pass in stride there, too.
Yeah, it was,
Any quarterback would be proud.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see the particular foul, who they called that on. If you saw that, Tony, crowd wasn't happy about it, but Ross is reaching in, and actually she ran past her. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what happens here.
First of 2. Destiny Thomas, who missed all of last season, the transfer from Memphis. As a program, if you're Coach Katrina Merriweather, you're looking for opportunities like this one, down, on the road, finding a different way to compete and give yourself a chance to win with a young team who's had an uphill battle all year with injuries and youth.
Well, I think when she gets a chance to make those calls and go to set pieces, she's really going to try to get Perry, some looks. As I said, she's a fine three-point shooter. They were successful doing that once, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again.
White no good on the runner, and a loose ball foul will be called against Cincinnati.
Well, one of the things that's going to make a difference here, is the 5-3 foul count. So, you know, they still have one more before it's going to hurt them from the Cincinnati side. And Utah's foul situation's been at 5 for a few minutes here.
4 fouls on Torrance. 6-point game, 2:23 left. Utah with just 6 points in this fourth quarter. Evans finds a cutting Ross. Knocked away, got it back, in the trees, harassed, and scores it. Reese Ross, who had 12 points off the bench in the win over Cincinnati last year. What a big bucket.
What an offensive play at a timely time for Reese Ross. Just a gutty, stay with it, make something happen.
DeVillasi trying to answer. Too far. Sneed, the rebound. L.A. Sneed got the start tonight. She has 5 assists to go with her 6 rebounds. Lonnie White has 20 and buries another jumper. White with her 6th three-pointer. She has 23, Utah up 11.
Just comes right up the gut, gets great time and space to shoot the ball, and when you get those things, you usually have a better chance to make it. And we see there again with that aggressive move by Jackson, taking it all the way to the middle with the right hand and just finishes.
Utah in no hurry. It's a 9-point game with a minute to go. On the chase, Jackson against Sneed. White with the catch. Now they go to Ross. Ross is hit and fouled. That was the last foul to give for Cincinnati.
Well, one of the things that I think is true of this game, let's look at Reese Ross first. She's in trouble and just kind of keeps her wits about her and finds that seam, and then she just gets a pipe cut straight up the middle with Lonnie White coming off a down screen, and she again has space to bury it.
Utah ball on the baseline.
Wilkie and the Utes in no hurry. Perry trying to get a steal. Perry will foul, that's her 4th. Wilkie will go to the line. 93.3% so far on the year. She was 6 for 6 in Tempe.
Well, that is the person that Utah wants to try to keep the ball in her hands and let her win it down the stretch. She's just a beautiful free throw shooter, has been very successful there. She's the senior leader, and she's the player I would want to give her the chance to get the W for us.
Maddie Wilkie has the name Madison. She comes from the state of Wisconsin, but she is not named after that state capital, even though she started her college career there.
Yeah.
Her name Madison is a combination of her parents' names, Matthew and Allison.
And they're both basketball people, so she just, in her name, she just whoosh, got all the talent.
And a senior from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin has been such a great example of toughness and perseverance. We saw her earlier in the season playing through so much pain. You can see it was emotional for her too, because nobody exemplifies what it means to be the best player for their team than Maddie Wilkie, and she wants to be a great example. There's the tournament resume for Utah.
I think that they are one of those teams, they know that if they can win down the stretch, that they'll prove their mettle, and they have a really good chance, and they should, with this league, get a chance to get in the NCAAs. And having said that, there's a lot of pressure in knowing that. You can't have an off night. You can't recover from it at this point in the season.
What they should be proud about tonight is that Utah shot 27.6% from deep. That has been a struggle for them lately. But they still had a terrific offensive night in the areas that mattered most, which is production.
Right.
22 assists, 24 made field goals, and played from ahead for most of the night. Strong move, Joya Crawford, one of 5 players in double figures on Tuesday. And a timeout.
That is just that's a tough, they've just got to maintain this kind of interest, and they have to play games that they feel like when it's over, they really played a complete game. And they have to defend well enough to keep teams, as they're doing in this game, in at least the 60s. They don't want to have to win games in the 80s.
DeVillasi cashes in after the steal from Perry, and it's now a 7-point game. Utah with 2 timeouts, Cincinnati with 1. White will get it into Walker. It goes back to White. Evans, throw back over to Walker. The pressure comes and the foul is there. The most important thing is that you start to feel like your team is the best version of themselves with these important games coming up. This was not a perfect performance from Utah, but in the areas of toughness and togetherness, it feels like they really check those boxes.
Right, again, this was a challenge for Utah coming off back-to-back losses, which was the first and only time that's happened to them in the league play. So that kind of challenge, you learn something about yourself, and you hope that it's all good. And their performance tonight, their effort tonight was really a good one. I think Cincinnati comes in with some real talented kids, and some of them are young, but you do not feel that way when you watch them play.
Utah gave up 7 early offensive rebounds, 3 the rest of the way. Perry, the step back 3, no good. The rebound is out of bounds. It'll go to Utah.
You know, it kills me. This game is so, I mean, she's just really strong, right? Okay, so Thomas goes up, and I really, unless I saw that wrong, she goes up with one hand. She just cleared Ross out with the left hand. She just threw her down. You know, it's like, play on, let's go.
Wilkie quickly over to Snead. And Perry will foul her. For Perry, that'll be foul number 5. 8 points tonight for Perry. She continues to be such a great leader for this program. What was a tough night offensively for the Bearcats.
I mean, despite the fact that they really did have a struggle night offensively, I think Utah did what you want to try to do with Perry. She just wasn't comfortable all night. She did not get consistently or time after time or in a stretch really nice feeling shots, and you have to do that with the best players that you go against. You cannot let them have the best part of their game in streaks or game long, because those are the nights they will win games for their teams.
Snead putting Utah back up by double digits.
Well, with their freshman class, Tony, and you look at what we're learning just about the whole system and how they trust and love each other, those freshmen stay. I don't want to play them.
Well, Coach Merriweather described it very much like it's a bamboo tree. She said for years underneath the surface, there's a lot happening. Merriweather very much the same. Great coaches in this league, and it's been exciting to watch all year long. Not much time left here tonight. Utah is going to run it out. And they'll close up the briefcase on a business-like victory over the Cincinnati Bearcats, 67-59.